Hi guys. I just wanted to go over this review of Mendelian genetics with you. I want to give you the answers um, to the worksheet that I posted in the Google Classroom. So, as you know from previous lessons, the this geneticist Gregor Mendel was considered or is considered the father of genetics. And the reason why is because he was able to record lots of all of the findings. He made detailed observations and was able to use those observations and to establish some laws that he was able to interpret from the experimental observations. So, what is genetics? Basically, genetics examines the inheritance of biological traits. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay, and the passing of traits from parents to offspring is called heredity. This is going to be awkward, but I'm going to try and write as much as I can properly. Gregor Mendel lived between 1822 and 1884, considered again the father of genetics. Main question that he was trying to solve was that how are traits passed on through two generations? And he discovered the mechanisms controlling inheritance. And he did this by carrying out very controlled experiments. And he kept detailed observations. Okay, and that was the key to his the success of his investigations, is that he kept very detailed observations of all those experiments that he carried out on pea plants. They were controlled experiments because he was able to produce true breeding plants, meaning that every single time that those true breeding plants were crossed with each other, they produce only one type of characteristic, like one offspring that had only that same type of characteristic. So if he, for example, if he bred true breeding plants with round seeds, every single generation of those parents would always have round seeds, okay? Or if he was crossing two true breeding tall plants, for example, then he would only have offspring that were tall as well, okay? And that was very key to his experiments, that they were controlled. He used pea experiments or pea plants because they were very easy to grow and control. Plants could self-pollinate or cross-pollinate with another plant. So pollination was easily manipulated, okay? And there was another reason, is that there were many different varieties in terms of the characteristics or traits that could be observed easily. Okay, so these traits, like there were, I believe, 7 different characteristics or traits that pea plants had that were very easily observed. And so each of these 7 traits only had 2 variations, okay? So 2 different options. For example, in this one, it says wrinkled or smooth seeds. I've also talked about tall versus short plants. There's God, on the top of my tongue, tip of my tongue. But anyways, there's 7 different types of traits, but each of those traits had 2 varieties. Important things to remember: the term gene. What does it mean? So a gene is basically just a short segment of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, as you know. And this short segment of DNA is located in a certain chromosome, and it codes for a specific protein that is associated with a specific trait. Usually there's many genes involved, guys, with a specific trait, but you know, I just want to talk about the simple definition. It is a gene is a short segment of DNA located in a chromosome that codes for protein. Basically, let me show you. So if we have a chromosome, let's just do chromosome number 1. This is your chromosome, and right here would be your gene for hair color, for example. This would be the location, or the gene loci. We've talked about this before, for hair color. And an allele, okay, so basically there may be more than one version of each gene. Okay, so for example, when you have, you can have one chromosome where this gene is for hair texture, and it codes for curly hair texture, and that in another chromosome that is from the let's say this is from the female, the mom. This could be from the male, the dad. Okay, this is a symbol for male. Let me just write that here. This gene over here could code for hair that is straight texture. Let me just erase that. So you have an allele for curly hair right here on the chromosome that came from the mom, and then an allele for straight hair texture that came from the dad. These 2 chromosomes are called homologous chromosomes. Their genes are located at the same, like genes for hair color, for example, and genes for hair texture, for example, are located at the same location on those 2 different chromosomes. Okay, they code for hair texture, but one allele could be for curly hair, the other allele could be for straight hair. One of them is going to be more dominant than the other, and the dominant allele is going to be expressed. So the next sentence is each allele is represented by a single letter. If the allele is dominant, it is represented by as you should know this by now, a capital letter. If the allele is recessive, a lower case letter is used. Okay, and we always, when we're doing genotypes, we always use the same letter for different alleles of the same gene. Okay, so if we're talking about, if we say that curly hair is the dominant allele, we would write big C for curly, curly, yeah, and little c for straight. We use the same letter. Okay, And now I'm going to go to the next page here. So the term dominant is basically, this is the allele. Oops, let me change that. This is the allele. If you have a dominant allele, it is the one that is expressed if present. Okay, the recessive allele may be present in a genotype, but not visible. Okay, remember you have always 2 copies of each gene, 1 copy on your maternal chromosome. This is from your mother, maternal, and 1 on your paternal chromosome. And this is from the paternal chromosome comes from your father. Remember, there's always half of your chromosomes. If we're talking about humans, 23 come from the mom, 23 come from the father, and they're homologous chromosomes. That means that each of those 23 have another chromosome that looks exactly the same shape and size as the ones that come from the other parent. So, example, in Mendel's pea plants, big Y stands for a plant where both pieces of color information are dominant yellow. Therefore, the plants are going to be expressed as yellow. Okay, this is basically a homozygous dominant genotype. Okay, genotype. I'm sorry about my writing here. Big Y, small I stands for plant where one piece of information is dominant, yellow, and the other is recessive. In this case, because you have the dominant allele present, this is also going to be yellow. And this is going to be where you have a heterozygous genotype. Okay, and the little y stands for a plant where both pieces of information are recessive, green, and the plant is going to be green because there is no big Y over here to mask the little y. Okay, describing individuals. This is basically you have a genotype and a phenotype. These are the 2 things that you can use to describe an individual. And the genotype includes the genetic information, the genetic composition. And this is whatever the alleles are present, okay? So what alleles does this individual have? I.e., when we were talking about curly hair and straight hair, you can either be big C, big C, big C, small c, and small c, small c. Okay, those are the options for the genotypes for, let's say, curly or straight hair. Okay, and the phenotype is the physical appearance or the observable trait. This is the thing that you actually see, the expression of the genotype. Okay, so either, for example, curly or straight. Oh God, this is getting messy. The cross is basically, it's when 2 individuals or parents are mated. Okay, so this is the cross. For example, This is considered the parents, the P generation. This is a parental